Okay. Right. Hi. Just to introduce ourselves, I'm Ray Clarke, and I am a pediatric ENT in Liverpool, UK, and I'm hoping to host the meeting of ESPO in Liverpool in 2023. It's been postponed because of the pandemic, and it is my pleasure this afternoon to interview my friend and colleague, Dr. Joana Araújo, who heads up ESPO Juniors. ESPO Juniors are a very important part of ESPO, and it's going to be good to get some thoughts from Joana as to how ESPO Juniors can contribute to ESPO. So, Joana, can I just ask you to give a brief introduction as to who you are, how you got involved in ESPO Juniors, etc.?
So thank you, Ray. It's really nice to have you today asking me questions and letting people know a bit more about junior ESPO. So I am a young ENT assistant. I recently finished my residency in Lisbon. I am 32, and I currently work in a different hospital from the one I had my residency on. I'm working in Cascais, which is also a hospital which is also in Lisbon. And I have been the president for the junior ESPO group a little bit more than 3 years ago. So the first time I knew about ESPO was actually on the Congress that ESPO held in Lisbon in 2016. So from the beginning of my residency, I always had a very big interest in pediatric ENT, mainly because also my residency took place in a hospital that had both a pediatric and an adult ward of ENT that made my exposure to pediatric ENT really big, and I was always interested in it. So I was really glad that we had that Congress, the ESPO Congress in my hometown. And there I realized all the activities and everything that ESPO represented. And I actually met the first junior ESPO president, that was Andy Hall. And he introduced me to the group, which was just beginning. And he added me to the mailing list. And that's how, I started knowing more junior ESPO members and knowing ESPO's activities.
Okay, yeah, super. And we more senior members are, of course, delighted to have the input of ESPO Juniors. But tell me, how do you think that the juniors can influence the format of the meetings and the direction that ESPO takes?
Congresses are a really good opportunity for people to meet up, not only juniors, but promoting junior and senior interaction also. So I think that it's really wise to keep the congresses interesting for residents, for young colleagues, and also giving them the opportunity to have a lot of exposure and a lot of time to showcase their new work, because there are a lot of young doctors doing really interesting things and young doctors really willing to know more. Sometimes our training in specifically talking about pediatric ENT is really limited. A lot of countries don't have subspecializations. Not even in my country do we have subspecializations. So sometimes it's hard to see what else is there about pediatric ENT more than adenotonsillectomies and tubes. And so the congresses, if they are more targeted to the young doctors, they may actually make them more interested in this area and make them know more about this area and probably make them be, trained ultimately in that area. So in my case, I even though there's no subspecializations in pediatric ENT, I would love to, in my country, I would love to go to any other country and learn more about that. So I think that could be a really good way to do things. Yeah.
Yeah, you've touched on something very important there, Joana, because there is a lot of disparity across the whole of Europe and indeed worldwide as to how well developed pediatric ENT is as a subspecialty. Do you think that is something that ESPO can have a role in advocating for, and in particular ESPO Juniors?
Definitely. So we already have in the website, on our part of the website, you can consult the ESPO website. We have our junior banner. And in that junior banner, we already have one of the things that the junior colleagues that reached out to us asked more insistently about, which was the information about the fellowship. So a lot of people, since they don't have that ability to continue and to pursue this specific area in their country, they wish to know how can they do it in any other hospital, in any other country. So we could help out by just simply putting out there the way to apply, the advantages to apply, the difficulties in applying. So we already are that platform. I hope we already are that platform for young doctors. So the seniors could help in probably creating more opportunities to have that more formal form of education, but also in like less formal ways, in courses and in practical guideline material, because sometimes it's really hard to find easy material in easy to consult material in simple areas like in the guideline form.
Yeah, I mean, again, you've touched on something important there, Joanna, because ESPO has traditionally seen itself, its main business as organising the conferences. But of course, we've become aware, especially during the pandemic, that educational material isn't just about face-to-face conferences. And do you think that you juniors could help us seniors in the delivery of educational material? I'm thinking of putting together webinars and even things like Twitter accounts and getting the message across. And that's the kind of thing that maybe you can teach us.
Yes, the pandemic, it made us make other ways to develop our knowledge. So the webinars are already going. We are already on a second webinar, and it's going quite well. And I think that's a really good way to make the information go further and don't limit it to congresses. So I think that's a really good way to go. I hope we're actually thinking about doing some written material to be easily consulted. That's also really basic and really easy for people to consult. Sometimes it could solve a lot of problems if you just go online and check answers to practical questions. So I think that's another way we could go. And there's also obviously the social media, which is really important now. We've been using it to advertise our meetings, and it's a way to keep people together. I think the pandemic has made us do those choices, but hope it's actually a good thing about the pandemic.
Yeah. No, I mean, you've touched on things like social media. One of the things that has always occurred to me is that attending meetings can be very expensive to spend 3 or 4 days in a European city. And for physicians who work in low-income countries, it's difficult to come up with the funding to attend a meeting. So do you think that maybe we should be developing our virtual learning a little bit more?
Probably, yes. It's really hard for someone who's growing in their specialty to have all the funding available to go to face-to-face meetings. And maybe we could work on having more material available for people that aren't able to go to the meetings face-to-face, but that could have it like online and consult it afterwards. Maybe that's a way to go. We could think about that. Yes. Yeah.
No. Okay. I think that's certainly something that we should be thinking of. We still value the face-to-face meetings, of course, and we're hoping, despite the difficulties that we're currently in, that we're going to have a meeting in Marseille later in the year. What are your hopes for the face-to-face meeting in Marseille, and in particular, what involvement do you think ESPO Juniors is going to have or should have in it?
Well, I hope we could make it in this year, the end of this year, to meet face to face, because actually this has postponed the change on the board, the junior board itself. So the idea was to have a 2-year term for the present board, but we've been continuing further on because we didn't have the opportunity to meet people face to face. So the idea is to let know more people that could become part of our board, and people that are interested, are really energetic and that have what it takes to be part of this group and to take it further on, that they could reach out to us and that they could be part of this, as I have been for these 3 years, which has been a really good experience. And so on that personal level, that's what I hope for our group. But in general, for young doctors, I just hope that the face-to-face meetings are a way that we could talk about our developments throughout this pandemic and throughout these past 3 years. We're actually having collaborative sessions of juniors and seniors, which I think is a really good idea. And I think it's a way to make young doctors more keen to participate in the sessions. So it's going to be morning sessions with both the senior and the young doctor, in which a young doctor places questions to the seniors. So I think it's going to be really interactive and interesting. And also we're going to have a lot of socialization moments, which also have some scientific part. We're going to have quizzes, a quiz, which is going to be really interesting. And we're also going to have a video contest. So I think it's things that we can do face to face that we actually lose if we do only the virtual meetings. So I hope we can meet up in November in Marseille, so all of this can happen.
Yeah, we all very much hope that does indeed take place, and that ESPO Juniors are a big part of it. I mean, you touched on the difficulties that juniors had during the pandemic, Joana. Indeed, we've all had difficulties, and I know that all of us, young and old doctors, have had issues around pastoral care and how the pandemic has affected us, and I'm sure that has crossed all the European boundaries. Do you think there's a role for ESPO Juniors in supporting each other through these very, very difficult times? I mean, apart from the clinical benefits.
Of course, we've been, being able to reach out to people through social media and through our WhatsApp group. We've been able to know more about how young doctors are dealing with the pandemic and what a big toll it's taken in, the finishing of residencies. So finishing of the residencies have been postponed. There's a lot of scientific work that's not being done. There's a lot of clinical work, of course, that's not being done. And I do believe that all the people that are training now are going to be taken aback by this pandemic, but hopefully we could make it up in good time. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. A big part of ESPO Juniors is in promoting research and making colleagues aware of research opportunities. Now, again, is that something that you think ESPO Juniors should be involved in? And do you think kind of collaborative research projects across different jurisdictions?
Of course, I think that we still have not done a lot on that area, but I hope we could do more about it, both in face-to-face meetings or also through our social media. I think we could work more on that. Of course, we know that research depends a lot on the funding of their own hospitals or institutions, but I hope that having the Junior ESPO brand could help motivate people to do more research, more collaborative research throughout the countries.
Yeah, I know that ESPO is a European society, but we really attract a lot of delegates and a lot of interest from people outside of Europe, in North America, South America, Asia, etc. Do you think we need to start thinking about being a global society? And do you think that some of the issues that face young doctors are common across global jurisdictions?
I am aware that the most participative country in ESPO is actually the US. So yeah. We know that already we have, the ESPO already has a lot of exposure outside Europe. And I hope that the Junior ESPO could also attain that level of exposure. As far as we know, for now, we only have European doctors in our mailing list, I believe, or maybe the main doctors are from Europe. But hopefully we could expand that and also get to reach out to doctors in America and in Asia and everywhere else. So we're just beginning, but I think we're on a good way.
Yeah, and do you have contacts with your counterparts in international societies? I expect you do.
Yeah, through not only me but other members. So the junior board has other 7 doctors from throughout Europe, and not only me but them also have intel on other people from outside Europe. So yes, it's good to reach out to them.
Okay, I mean, you touched on some of the challenges earlier, Joana, about different availability, for example, of training fellowships. And do you think that we need to harmonize training? And do you think we need, I mean, for example, especially the exams? I mean, I know, junior doctors don't like exams, but you do need some kind of way of ensuring that people are appropriately trained. And is that something we need to work on a kind of a pan-European basis?
I hope so. I think not only in pediatric ENT, but in every aspect of training, I think that making international exams is a really good way to level up everything and to make sure that the training is equal in every country. So I think that having probably an exam on a subspecialty such as pediatric ENT would help a lot, and also have a fellowship orientation that could be made or that could be followed by every fellowship is also a very good way. So I hope that having guidelines for training is always a good way to go, because it makes everything more even, and we are sure that the training is good and equal. Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's really helpful, Joana. Finally, for us seniors, and indeed for seniors who may be looking in at the webcast, we very much want to support our junior colleagues, but what do you think we should be doing more to encourage our juniors to get involved in ESPO and indeed to get involved in pediatric ENT? It's a wonderful specialty, and we know that it is, but it's not, we don't always promote it perhaps as well as we should.
Well, in training, it's really important, but the congresses are really important because, with the works and with the sessions, people get to know more, but also, using the internet, like we spoke before, as a weapon nowadays is also really good. So creating probably more online opportunities for learning, like courses or webinars. I think that's a way, and it's an easy way to put to create learning opportunities that are available in every country. I think that's both ways the seniors could go. So in congresses, creating more time for juniors to showcase their work, and online courses, and also formal courses, but courses in which young people can learn more. I think that's the way to go.
Well, tell me a little. Yeah, we do have a virtual meeting coming up in February, and this may well go out before then. So tell us a bit about that, Joana, and how it's going to work.
So hopefully we can meet in Marseille face to face. But before that, we have in February, so 20th of February, it's a Saturday, so everyone could join in. We have a virtual meeting on pediatric ENT. So there's a lot going to be spoken there, not only COVID, we've got sessions on cholesteatoma, we've got sessions on airway, on sleep, and we also have a part for the juniors. So if juniors want to send us their videos, we are going to make a little competition and give an award to the best video. So I hope a lot of juniors and seniors are keen to join us on the 20th of February.
Right, oh, excellent. Yeah, thank you so much, Joana. Is there a final message that you want to give?
Yes. See you in virtually on February. See you hopefully face to face on Marseille. And to any junior who wants to be part of this group, be part of our mailing list, be part of our social media, please follow us. And we hope we could make pediatric ENT more alive to junior doctors.
Excellent. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.